if they really cared about changing their bodies, they wouldn't be going there, they'd be going somewhere else. But what they care about is that sense of of belonging, and the sense of community, doing something for themselves. But we should be educators first. If we don't know how to help people in the way they need to be helped, we can't help them long term.
Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
This podcast is brought to you by Vital Exercise, a one-of-a-kind personal training facility in the UK, owned and run by that geezer and world-class personal trainer Ted Harrison. For over 30 years, Ted has been very successful in helping people achieve great results. And if you've seen the blog post for his episodes on this podcast, you will see that he walks the walk. And at 57, he's muscular and lean and can be seen on Facebook doing his best Daniel Craig impression, emerging from the sea in the tiniest trunks you've ever seen. Ted and I talk all the time. Since our very first meeting, when Ted put me through an amazing workout, he's become a great friend and one of my trusted health and fitness counsel. Operating from a high-intensity training base, Ted uses an eclectic mix of training styles to optimize results for his clients. He's a hot property and people travel from all over the UK to train with him. To book a free consultation, either at his facility in Essex in the UK, or to find out more about his virtual coaching, which includes personalized training, nutritional guidance and support, please go to corporatewarrior.co/TED, where you can fill in a contact form or phone Ted directly. That's corporatewarrior.co/TED. Hey guys, I am Lawrence Neal and welcome to another episode of Corporate Warrior, the podcast that teaches you all about high-intensity training and how to start and grow your strength training business. My former guests include the who's who in high-intensity training, including Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay and Jim Flanagan, paleo pioneers Mark Sisson and Rob Wolf, strength training entrepreneurs like Luke Carlson and Adam Zickerman, and many, many more. If you enjoy this podcast, you should definitely check out the Corporate Warrior membership over at corporatewarrior.co/membership. The membership provides exclusive content on how to grow your strength training business, including how to instruct the perfect workout, cost-effectively acquire exercise machines, and how to manage client workout volume and frequency. The forum community includes some of the best in the business to enable you to share ideas and leverage expert advice to help you achieve your goals. There are live monthly Q&As with high-intensity training and strength training business experts and one-on-one coaching from me to help you get results fast. Join the waiting list now by going to corporatewarrior.co/membership. Today's guest is the owner of Vertex Fitness, Dwayne Wimmer. In 2001, Dwayne fulfilled his dream by founding his own physical fitness training center on the Philadelphia main line, Vertex Fitness. Over the last 17 years, Dwayne has learned a lot with regard to running and growing his business, and so we decided to focus entirely on client acquisition. Getting new clients and client retention are the most common business questions I get on the podcast and in the membership. It's not a surprise why, since clients are the lifeblood of any business, and sales and client retention are typically the most challenging of tasks. In this podcast, we cover a lot of strategies and tactics for client acquisition, including how to get your very first clients, getting clients online via SEO or search engine optimization, the importance of customer service, and much, much more. For all of the show notes and links for this episode, please go to corporatewarrior.co/Dwayne. And for all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.co/podcast. Don't forget to hang around till the end for your free gift from moi. And now I give you Dwayne Wimmer. Dwayne, welcome to Corporate Warrior.
Thanks for having me on.
You are most welcome. As we were, talking beforehand, we got chatting a little bit at the Resistance Exercise Conference, but unfortunately, I didn't get to find out more about you. And obviously, a lot of the people there spoke highly of you and what you've done in the industry. So really pleased to have you on now and learn a little bit more about you and your business and get into the topic of how to actually grow the business, actually get clients through the door, which I know is a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs in general, but strength training entrepreneurs specifically in this context. Do you want to just, to set the scene and educate the listeners a little bit more on you, do you want to just talk about your background and your business and how Vertex Fitness came to be and so on?
Sure. Let's see, I started right out of college into the fitness industry. I got a job at a health club that actually used this high-intensity training methodology. They did high-intensity training with the Nautilus diet. For those who are familiar with Ellington Darden's Nautilus diet, we had that program, and part of the program was one-on-one training. This was before personal training was what it is today. So that was my introduction to high intensity training and the fitness industry. I came from a background of playing football in college with a health and phys ed education. And when I was coming out of college into the fitness industry, I did typical bigger, faster, stronger type workouts, which was basically deadlifts, squats, power cleans, bench press, which to me made a lot of sense because that's what I did in college and I saw results with it. So I got into the fitness industry early, right out of college, and really fell in love with high intensity training. Took a little break, went to grad school to be a football coach, I thought, and realized that wasn't the path I wanted to go down. And I really liked this fitness industry, and especially the high intensity training aspect of strength training. So I got back into the fitness industry, became a fitness director at a health club, moved around to a couple different health clubs, then ended up at Villanova University. For those who follow college basketball, they've been doing really well with their team the last few years. But when I was there, we actually did high intensity training with all of the athletes. Every athlete in the university came through our weight room, and we did some type of HIIT training with them. Now they have different strength coaches for different sports, but when I was there, that's what we did. That's how I got to the area that I'm in now, the Philadelphia's main line. While I was there, I would do personal training on the side with the general population in this area. I did that for a few years till I opened my own business in 2001, which is Vertex Fitness. And, I built the business up. I expanded it, decreased the business, the size, different programs, and now I'm strictly strength training. I went off on some different directions for a little while, and we can get into that a little bit later. But now I'm strictly high intensity training, half-hour appointments. I do about 20 sessions on average a day, and then do it again the next day. So that's in a nutshell where I've been and where I've come from and where I am now.
Awesome. You mentioned the mainline fitness. I get a Philadelphia mainline. I get a little bit confused about this because I know of those terms through Roger Schwab. What is that? What is that? Is that a brand? Like, I don't understand what that actually means because I'm not from there.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. The main line, basically, it got its name from the railroad that goes right from Philadelphia west, right. And it was the main line out of Philadelphia, and now it became a popular area, and it's a very affluent area. So people in the area, if you mention to them the main line, they understand it's the area that we live in. It's comprised of probably 8 different little towns, and it stretches maybe 10 miles.
Right, and Vertex Fitness is based there as well.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of that mainline health and fitness. Mainline health and fitness was about a mile from me. So Roger Schwab sold that a few years ago, and it's now down in Philadelphia proper.
Got it. Okay. Do you want to just elaborate on Vertex Fitness in terms of the business, like your team, and if you have a team at this point, and just how you go about doing things, how you run that business? That'd be interesting to learn a little bit more about.
Yeah. Well, we do we do total body workouts every time, like most HIIT training protocols. Our demographic, we can work with any adolescents through seniors. Our main two demographics are busy professionals and seniors. The reason we focus on those two is because mostly they, one, have the finances to do what we do, and two, they are time crunched, or that's the busy professional, or the senior is worried about getting hurt exercising. And obviously those who do this type of training realize that it's very safe if it's done properly. So those two types of people gravitate to our program. Originally, I thought I was going to do mostly housewives. We call them mainline moms. But I realized really early that this isn't a priority to them. Their kids are top priority. Then it's their hair and nails, and then so every other appointment comes up before this. Now, that being said, we still train a lot of mainline moms, but we focus more on the busy professionals and the seniors, because once they get into this and start seeing results, they're your clients to lose. They're yours forever.
That's awesome. That's really sorry, go on.
No. So it's a learning curve through the process. You may go into a business thinking that you're going to train athletes, but you realize that if you train athletes, they're in season, and you're not going to be training them very much during season possibly, and how are you going to make revenue? So that you have to take things and apply them as you grow and understand, where your business is going and what feeds you.
Yeah, it's really fascinating what you say about the mainline mums, because I think a lot of people make that assumption that they would be keen, and it does baffle me how stuff like strength training does fall down the pecking order, because especially with the research around anti-aging, and how we know that strength training can be very effective at reversing genetic age in humans, and it seems like anti-aging is such a big interest in that demographic, with all the skincare and, the hair and nails, all that stuff is there for beauty and to help them look younger, right? So it's like, well, you can actually reverse your age with this, to an extent. And that just, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's just because that message has not been kind of communicated strongly enough in the media, or is there some other reason, do you think?
I think that's a big part of it, but I think really what it comes down to is, the process. First of all, people don't realize that the process took a long time to get them to where they are. And they think that it's a easy fix. They think that they're going to see results quickly. And, we're in a society that, everything's a quick fix. And when you really think about it, if, how the human body works, it's going to take some time to see some changes. And, the type of changes we're talking about, the anti-aging type stuff is more internal than external. And you're not going to see the big differences quickly in the mirror. And it's a lot of hard work. So I think the bigger problem is the education, educating people that this is a process, and it's a process that you got to stick with for some time to see the results you're looking for. And even some of the results that you're going to get, you may not even see externally. You don't know what your cholesterol is every day when but when you go to the doctor every year and you see it changing, you realize what you're doing is helping that. But, the internal workings of your body are really what's going to help you live a longer, productive life. You might look a little better, but that's not going to help you long term.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You talked about the demographics that you target, which is really interesting. And I know there's a number of your colleagues that have a similar strategy. I know Luke targets busy executives as well, and he's got it. I mean, you may have a similar strategy where he actually describes the avatar in immense detail for both the man and woman, the type of man and woman that they target in their business. They have names and all sorts. And I'm just curious, you mentioned, you hinted there though, even though you have these target demographics that, clearly you've learned over the years that they are interested in your services, you still attract people from outside of that as well though, right?
Oh, definitely. I have a couple high school athletes female high school athletes that I train to, like I said, the mainline moms. I have, women who are busy professionals to men who are busy professionals. Seniors, men and women. I have the weekend warriors, a few of those. I have college kids who come back, during the summer. I have some college kids who are here during school years and then leave in the summer. So yeah, I attract a lot of different demographics, and not all my advertising, and if you look at my website, it's not geared towards any one person. It's sort of the message sort of resonates more with the busy professional and the seniors. And I think really bottom line, those are the ones who can afford what we're doing.
Right. So saying that those are your kind of key demographics, how does that affect your behavior then? All that being said, in terms of you and the business?
Well, I'm not going to go hang out on the college campus and hand out flyers. I'm not going to advertise in the college paper. I'll do more things at the high school level where the busy professionals, if I'm looking at I'm thinking of this because I just did this, the back cover of a program for a sports team. I'll do that because the busy professional will see that because their kid's playing sports, or, the senior will see that because their grandkids are playing the sports. It's not necessarily geared towards the athlete themselves, but their parents. And, and then the person on the advertisement will be someone they can identify with, whether it's a busy professional or a senior in the advertisement. And I'm not going to necessarily do much advertising at the hair salon or things like that, because that's attracting that mainline mom who isn't going to really make this a priority. So, they're going to be canceling all the time. They're going to make other things more important than this. So when I'm going out and looking for a new client, I'm going to put myself in places where there's busy professionals or seniors. I do a lot of networking, and I also do a lot of door-to-door building relationships with local businesses, because if people are shopping at those local businesses, they're local and they're the ones who can afford that business and what we do. So, I don't put my efforts for the college kids or the high school athletes, because we'll train them, but that's not where I'm focused.
So
does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. I get you. This is good because it serves as a really good foundation to what we're going to be talking about in more detail in terms of getting new clients and just, I guess, driving revenue into the business. So do you think, people starting out, new, let's think about this in terms of, I guess, maybe new strength training business owners, or even existing business owners that are struggling. How do they actually go about, and firstly, how important is it that they actually create a target customer like you have? And secondly, how do they actually go about figuring that out in your experience?
My experience was, I first of all thought of who could afford my services, so a lot of times, in certain demographics, certain areas, a college kid or a high school kid's not going to be able to afford your services. So, you may you got to draw a line. Do you want to work with these kids because you like them, or do you want to make money? And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that money should always outweigh your service, but you have to keep a business alive. We are in business. So, I have student rates. So, I'm not discarding the student, but I'm not focused on them. So depending on what your mindset is coming into this, do you like working with people of certain demographics, which may change because you'll find out that they may not be the people you thought they once were, but or is it strictly a business decision to make, to go after a certain demographic? So I think even before you pick your demographic, you have to understand your own personality and why you're doing what you're doing, because in the end, you're going to be putting in a lot of hours and a lot of time, and you got to like what you're doing. And if you're not enjoying your day, it's gonna weigh on you. It's not going to be successful. So, like I said, I started out thinking that we were going to mainly be these mainline moms, and then we'd pull in their kids and possibly then secondarily their husbands. And I realized quickly, like I said, that demographic didn't work for us. So we switched our thought process, and now we put our efforts into the busy professionals, which then we secondarily we get typically that person is a male. Then secondarily we get the wife, and then on the next level we'll get their kids. So we just sort of reverse the order, and it actually works better because that busy professional sees the value in what we're doing, and that's the bigger picture. You're going to be able to demand the price structure that you deserve if people see the value in what you're doing. And if you're going after people who don't see the value, you can't charge what you're worth. I don't know if I answered your question. I tend to go off on tangents.
You did. This is really good because you make me think of something that I was thinking about prior to us talking, which is, I don't know if this is true. It's just something I was thinking about. Is a lot of strength training business owners obsess about the number of clients coming to their gym, and it kind of occurred to me, well, is that the problem, or is also part of the problem pricing and frequency and low client retention? You mentioned just now how you've retained, well, it sounds like you've retained some of these clients for many, many years, especially those that form your main demographic. Do you want to, am I making a good point there? Is that something that's probably true in terms of the number of clients being focused on too much versus, the correct pricing and training frequency and retention? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
That's huge. Think about this. If you keep the same person, you don't ever have to replace them. Replacing someone costs a lot more than retaining them. And it takes more time, more effort, and more money to get a new client. So if you have someone in your door, do whatever you can to keep them there. I mean, now I'm not saying and I've fired clients in the past because they just weren't my demographic. They didn't listen to me. They were going to end up hurting themselves or someone else. So I had to get rid of them. But, that being said, if they are someone you truly want to work with in the demographic you're looking for, and you like working with them, do whatever it takes to keep them there. Make sure, and it doesn't take much. Say hi to them when they walk in the door, say goodbye to them when they leave. Talk about their kids, talk about their business, talk whatever. Keep them engaged. That person could be thousands and thousands of dollars for you over the course of time. I have clients I've been training for 20 years, I cannot tell you how much these people are worth because they have got me other clients by referring them to me or just talking, or while I finish working with them, I finished working with them, I'm sitting down with a new client, they give an unsolicited testimonial to this person. That is priceless. So retaining your clients, I think, is the number one priority of any service business, because that person is worth thousands and thousands of future dollars. So after that, making sure your price structure is what it should be. I started out way too low. So, as we all do, because we don't feel comfortable or confident in our what we're worth, I think too many of us put ourselves in the customer's seat. And for me, I moved to this area. I wasn't from this area, so I didn't know what other prices of other services were to the extent that I should have when I first started. So my pricing was too low, which then made me work harder to get to where I needed to be. But now my pricing structure is a little bit more where it should be. So, you got to make enough money per person. You got to keep that person engaged and show value in what you're doing so they keep coming back. And, over time, there's going to be a natural attrition. People move, people die, for whatever reason. They may not like what they're doing here anymore. They want to try something else out. One of the things I tell all my clients throughout the process is, we feel like this is Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. So, we have clients who leave, they go try doing something else, go swing some kettlebells or do some, CrossFit or whatever. But you'd be surprised how many of them come back because they realized what we were doing was safe, efficient, and effective. So, we got did I answer all the different parts of your question there?
What about frequency as well? So, I mean, I know obviously we talk about training frequency and recovery and the importance of that, but yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that in the context of optimizing your client's workout, but also trying to, I guess, create greater frequency and revenue for the business?
Well, I try to educate my clients, and then through the education process, I try to figure out what frequency would work best for them. First, from the economic standpoint, and then secondarily from the physical adaptation standpoint. Because if you can't first the economics, second to their time frame, then third to their physical adaptation. Because if they can't afford it or they can't put it into their schedule, it doesn't matter how well they're going to respond, because it's not going to happen. So I'll sit down with someone during that first consultation, and I'll try to figure out, one, what can they afford? Two, how much can they fit into their schedule? And then you and I both know that there's going to be a physical adaptation to this. So, from that, I try to figure out the frequency that they'll need. Now, we always talk about finding the minimum dose of exercise to get the maximum return, which I highly believe in. The problem with that is we're looking at an ideal situation when someone is working as hard as they physically can and they're getting the most out of every set, every repetition, every workout. Now, I've been doing this type of training for about 30 years, and I can tell you that the people that fit into that category are very slim. So, there's four pieces of a workout that I always go over. One, in this kind of training, is the intensity. We always talk about the intensity. So the intensity is inversely proportional to the duration, volume, frequency. The intensity is inversely proportional to the frequency, volume, and duration. So if we can get someone to work as hard as they physically possibly can, they may only need to work out once a week, maybe once every 10 days. And you and I both know people who get great results doing that. But you take this to the average person who doesn't, one, know how to push their body, and two, doesn't mentally have the capability of pushing themselves that hard, or emotionally they can't do that. Now you have to make up the difference of that intensity somehow. And I personally am not going to increase the volume, and I'm not going to increase the duration. So we have to change the frequency. So you look at that ideal person that may be able to do it once a week to get their best results. And you reduce the intensity. Now you have to make it up with frequency. So most of my clients work out 2 or 3 times a week, which I know there's a lot of people out there that would not ever have their clients do that, but I can guarantee you that they would not get their best results working out once a week. So if they have the time and if they have the money, they're going to get better results doing it 3 times a week. everybody wins. So that's how I approach that now. If they tell me that they're on a tight budget and they're reaching, this is going to be hard for them to do this. Now, once a week is a huge jump from zero. So I'll tell them that, yes, they'll get great results from doing this once a week, because compared to what they're doing now, they'll see great results. It just won't be ideal or optimal for most people. So I try to balance that out. Does that all make sense to you?
Oh, it does. No, I love the way you think about that. It's, I think that's a very logical order of things. Yeah, I mean, it's, absolutely makes sense in terms of in the context of intensity. If they can't bring it, like, I think sometimes we forget, I'm thinking of the attendees of the conference, just how much of an outlier we are, in terms of our determination to, destroy ourselves in the gym. Yeah, obviously that is as you said there, it makes up a very small number of the population. This kind of begs the question then, if client retention is so important for long-term growth and sustainability, which it is in almost every business context, there's a reason why many businesses, including my own, have moved over to a membership monthly subscription type of strategy, because it's a far healthier business model, and it enables you to focus on a smaller set of customers who you can serve well, as opposed to trying to get new customers all the time. And you see this all the time in software. I mean, which software product doesn't have a monthly subscription these days? What I wanted to, so yeah, sorry, I'm digressing, but what I want to understand
that's okay, because I have something, I have a thought process on that. So,
oh, cool. Well, yeah, you can certainly share that in a sec.
Okay,
but very, very keen to learn about how you retain clients. Like, how do you keep these people over the long term?
You just have to show value every time they're in. Whether it's, I have clients, some of my long-term clients are some of my toughest clients, but they appreciate and they understand that I have their best interest in mind. I'm not just going through the motions, and I think that's where the clients are smart. They may not even consciously know that they're smart about understanding what's going on, as they are subconsciously, but they understand that when someone's phoning it in or just going through the motions. I try to teach or be constructive on every repetition, every set for every person. So it's, a lot of people say, well, we're going to go for 10 reps here, and then they'll do 10 reps and they'll be done. Okay, well, they could have done that on their own. Unless I'm constantly giving them some type of constructive feedback, keep your shoulders in position, keep your breathing constant, work on the speed of motion, to, all the different things that someone could put into every repetition. You have no value. If they could do what they're doing with you on their own, why are they paying you? So at some point, you have to constantly think in your mind, how can I make this beneficial to them, that I can show them value in me, so they feel like they have to keep coming back here to get instruction from me. And if they feel like they couldn't do this on their own, now you have a client. If they feel like they could do it on their own, why would they pay you?
So, yeah, no, that's a great point. So it's, the focus then should be, or one of the focuses should be, I'm trying to become the best personal trainer that you can. And as you say, get the most out of your client's workout, and deliver that value, is perhaps where, a lot of trainers should be focusing, because
definitely
that retention will beget more customers, will beget more long-term revenue through repeat custom, but then more customers via referral from that person shouting about their workouts from the rooftops.
Right. And when you talk about the best workout, it's the best workout for that person for that day, because everybody brings something different to the table every day. So not only is everybody different, everybody's different every day. So you as a trainer, you as a strength professional, you have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to read that person and give them back what they need for that day. You can't be a robot. You have to be able to change on the fly. Some people from one exercise to another are going to need something different from you. So you have to be able to read people, and you have to be able to give them what they need, not necessarily what they want, because long-term clients pay you for what they need, not what they want, because they can get what they want anywhere.
It makes me realize just how much of a people business this is. It sounds like, unless you're hiring people, which from what having had discussions, it sounds like, it is important, certainly at the beginning, to definitely be on the floor training people yourself, rather than just obviously hiring a team of trainers straight away if you're in that position. And certainly if you are in that position where you are, on the floor training people, you really have to be one of these sorts of people who just is a people person and will, really is able to read people, like you're saying, and connect to them emotionally and understand what to say, when to say it. That seems to be very important. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%, because you could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't get someone to understand it, it really has no value.
Well said. Yeah, I'm coming to learn that, which is sometimes actually quite a nice realization, because it means that maybe you don't have to absolutely understand everything there is to know about health and fitness, because it is very, very complicated and can be quite intimidating. So to think that actually your clients don't really care necessarily that much, for you to explain all these complicated principles to them is actually quite liberating, so long as you obviously have a baseline understanding.
Just think of what you just said. The clients don't care. If they really did care about this, they wouldn't be spending the money on all the stuff they're spending it on. The infomercials to the programs that you see in health clubs that virtually are just there to take people's money, and really there's very little benefit to them. If they really cared about the results, and if that was the driving factor, most of the health club industry would be out of business.
Interesting.
Because most of the health clubs do nothing to help people become healthier. They supply a space, they supply equipment, and virtually no guidance to doing what needs to be done for this person who's paying monthly fee to come in and change their body. You can have the best. I go back to what I said about the information. You could have the best equipment in the world. You could have the best facility in the world. But if people don't use it, it's like trying to hammer in a nail with a screwdriver. You might have the best screwdriver in the world, but you're not using the tool to its best ability. So you're not going to get the results you're looking for because you don't have the knowledge to use this equipment. Well, most people who work in health clubs don't have the knowledge. They have the knowledge to sell people up front, but they don't have the knowledge to give them to change their bodies or keep them safe or you look at people in the health club industry, they go into health clubs all the time. They keep going and nothing changes in their bodies because they spend time doing things that aren't going to change their body. And no one's changing their minds or trying to educate them because they're paying their monthly dues. They're coming in, they're regular, and it goes back to how this conversation started. If they really cared about changing their bodies, they wouldn't be going there. They'd be going somewhere else. But what they care about is that sense of belonging, and the sense of community, doing something for themselves. But, that goes back then to is something better than nothing. And again, I go off on these tangents, but really we should be educators first. If we don't know how to help people in the way they need to be helped, we can't help them long term.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Earlier on, I think I prompted a thought from you. You said you had a thought process around, I think, monthly subscriptions or software or something like that. Do you want to? I don't know if you can remember what you were going to say there.
No, I do, because I mean, I think that the monthly subscription is great for businesses. I think it helps businesses know what their recurring revenue will be. It's easier to retain clients because they're paying on a regular basis. But personally, and this is when I project my own personal thoughts on the things, I personally hate getting put into a subscription base because it makes me feel like I have to continue even though I may not want to, or sort of I forgot about it. Now I'm still paying. Now I have to go through the process of quitting. It puts the onus onto the customer rather than putting the onus onto the business. So my model is exactly the opposite. And I tell people that they can quit at any time. You pay per session, and it's an old type model where, we buy packages. I tell people, if you at any point you want to cancel, I'll refund any portion of your package that you have paid for, and it puts the onus on me to show them value in what they're buying every time. Whereas if it's a subscription base, you're putting the onus on them to quit and go through the process of stopping that subscription. So from a service standpoint, is in where I'm coming from, I think it shows more value to the client, again, that I'm not going to try to put them into a subscription base that they have to pay for it whether they use it or not. I put it on me and say, you're only going to pay for what you use, and you're going to want to use these things. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Does that mean you don't use an auto pay type strategy? Is that correct? Or
that's correct. People pay by check or cash.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So people can't pay by card?
No, that costs me like 3% per every transaction, and I never built that into my business structure. If I was starting over again, it would be different. But right now, it's the cost, the pain of change right now is bigger than the pain of what I'm doing. So, and I'm sure at some point I will change that, and I may go to a subscription base. But even if I do that, I will make it super easy for people to get out of it, because the last thing I want people to feel is they're obligated to me. I should be, and a trainer should feel obligated to them.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's far more ethical and productive for both parties if there's a clear cancellation policy on a subscription, and it's very easy for them to do. I do exactly the same thing within the Corporate Warrior membership. If people want to cancel, it's very, very simple, and it's just a simple tweak in PayPal, and that's it. I do think that's important because it's otherwise it just doesn't really work for either of the parties involved. Cool. Okay, so on that, I guess going back to the subject of getting new clients. So we talked about, the importance of retention and getting pricing correct and looking after your customers and servicing them the best way you can, which is obviously a very good long-term strategy to finding new clients and moving away from perhaps the target of I must have as many as possible to no, I just need people that are coming back frequently. However, one always needs to start out by actually getting clients in the first place. So for yourself, when you started your business, Dwayne, like how did you go about getting clients to begin with?
Grassroots. When I started in this area, I was a strength coach at Villanova. So I had time in between sessions with athletes to go out and visit local businesses, and do some networking. I have been a part of the Mainline Chamber of Commerce for probably close to 20 years now, and getting your face out there. I suggest having nice business cards. Use both sides of your business card. Make sure there's an offer on the back of some sort. Direct them to a website. The website has to be optimized. The website is probably the website will drive organic traffic if it's optimized and it looks good. That's where I get most of my new business from. At the beginning, the grassroots is how I got people to start. But now it's the website. The website drives in most of my new traffic.
Interesting. So is that people searching for you organically for your website?
People are searching for personal training. And, I come up very high in this area because my website's been around for a long time and it's optimized for this area in personal training.
So they might. What do they do? Do you know the keywords off your top of your head? Will it be like Philadelphia personal training, or more specific than that, or mainline, or
mainline and the towns? I'm specifically in a town called Bryn Mawr. So they'll look for personal trainer, Bryn Mawr, personal trainer mainline, and I come up typically first on that. And they'll, then the idea now you have to have the follow-up systems in place to make sure that, you can capitalize on the phone call or the email that you get. And again, they can't book. I'm not automated for scheduling either. So, they have to call or email to inquire. So, you have to follow up with them. You have to know what to say, how to say it, and you have to be able to change on the fly with the person that you're talking with. So.
Cool. Okay. So the website is now a primary driver. That's interesting to me because that's not what I expected. When I talk to I guess most strength training entrepreneurs, it tends to be that they'll most new business coming via referral, or just people walking in the door because they're in a good location, they get good foot traffic. Do you also get business via those avenues as well?
Well, I'm on the second floor, and they just built a building next to to the building I'm in. So it's actually hard to find me now. It wasn't so hard before, but since this new building is here, I don't know what it is about it, but it's hard to find even for the first time when I give directions. So I don't get much walk-in traffic. I'm on the second floor above a women's boutique clothing store, which again, you think that's I put myself here because I thought that was my original demographic, but then it's really not. So I don't get much foot traffic from them. And honestly, from referrals, I'd be surprised if people, if they really looked at where their clients are coming from, if it's as much referrals as they think it is. For me, I know my clients don't refer that much, and I'll tell you why. Most of my clients, being in the area we're in, they like the idea of this is their place, and they don't want people coming here. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for me. But so I rely on my website to get me most of my business, and then I do post a lot to social media, so I do get some inquiries that way, but most of my social media is to direct people back to my website so that it increases my SEO, so that when people in the area are looking for what I do, that I'll pop up first.
I noticed that you do a fair bit of content marketing, don't you, like blogging?
Yes, I do. I mean, the content is just information, and that's twofold. One, it's to drive more traffic to my website, so it increases, my ranking. But also it's for those people who might have heard of me or might have found me via social media, who aren't sure that this is what they're looking for, but they start reading the stuff I put out there, and now they can make some decisions based on the content I'm putting out into what it is I do, how I do it, and what my thoughts are. So it's not just locally, it's globally. I mean, obviously you see it, you're across the pond. So, it's to show people what I do and where I come from. So it gives me, everything goes back to the value of what you're doing, and whether it's you personally or the service you're putting out there. So people know who I am, what I do, and how I do it.
Yeah. Content marketing is a very effective strategy. I mean, you could say this podcast is basically content marketing. It never started out like that, but it kind of is by definition, in that, I obviously provide this for free. I enjoy doing it. I try and create content with great people like you, which is valuable to the audience so they can learn a lot of stuff. But there is obviously products and services off the back end. And that is a great way of building an audience and building a customer base, which, I had no idea in the beginning. So what about in terms of because I'm thinking of the listeners, they're starting out, their website isn't optimized for SEO. We all know that takes time. That can take at least a few months until you start popping up for searches in your area, even if you're an absolute pro at doing SEO for your website. And it does make me think that at some point I might get a kind of like a website SEO expert onto the show to actually address that for these guys. But what can be done? I mean, you've already mentioned a few things in terms of networking, just getting yourself out there. But are there any other specific tactics that you found were effective in the beginning to just getting people through the door when you didn't have the website advantage?
The first thing, you just have to have people in the place too, so I trained a lot of people for free at the beginning, and it doesn't generate revenue, but it does get your name out there. And again, it goes, you're talking referrals, you talk people about, people talking about you to others. So people aren't going to talk about you unless you've worked with them. So, if you're starting out, the biggest thing you have on your side is time. So give it away. And then that goes against what most people say. But when you have to, right now, I can't do that. I don't have as much time. So I give out a complimentary session for their first session, but after that, I'll charge them. But at the beginning, I'd give friends, family, people that I knew, give them 5-10 sessions just because I had time. And if they start seeing results, they're going to start talking about it, so you can't, you gotta set yourself up for long term. So when you're getting into business, you have to have some revenue stuck aside to get you through the lean time. So you have time, get people in the door. It hones your skills, and it actually gets your services into the hands of people that can talk about it. So, find some key people that maybe you can give your services to that can talk about it, to others, and then generate the revenue off the referrals. And then I'm not saying do it forever. I have the local DJ here, the biggest morning show in Philadelphia. I've been training the local DJ here for 15 years, 3 times a week, and he doesn't pay a dime to come in because he talks about me on this radio station that goes out to millions of people.
Oh, wow.
And I can't afford him. I can't afford, it's $2,000 a minute to be on this radio station.
Oh, wow.
So it's for them to drop my name once a month or allow me to go to one of their events and, be able to network with the people that they do. It's priceless. I can't afford the friendship I have with him. So I give it to I have something he wants, and that's a workout, and I'll give it to him for free because what I'm getting back is of value to me.
What a great partnership.
Yeah, so I do that with him. I have chiropractors I do that with. If they're I wouldn't say just do it open-endedly. If it's not working, if somewhere along the line someone's going to feel like they're being taken advantage of, make sure that you lay down, just like we said with the subscription thing, make sure it's easy for either one to get out of the relationship with no hard feelings. But tell them that you refer a couple people to me every month, and I'll train you once a week, a month, every throughout the month. And at some point, you're definitely tracking where your referrals are coming from. If they slow down, just bring it up and say, I'm not really seeing any referrals. I'm still supplying your service to you. Can you look into that? Can you make sure that that this is working for both of us? And if it isn't, then just say, they'll come to you and say, hey, I don't really have many other people. And then just say, well, then maybe it's time for us to look at, our relationship and change it. So you set it up for success for both people, at the beginning, but you have time. Time is the biggest thing you have to put into this at the beginning. Give your time to those who can help you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you getting into the specifics of that conversation, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's, what if it goes sour? Like, how do you manage it? And I think you just gave a great demonstration there of how you keep it really professional and mature. And you're very clear up front. I think that's a wonderful strategy. And I reckon, I was talking to someone yesterday, who won't name at this point, but they're running a fairly newish strength training business, and they're doing okay, but they're struggling to get new clients, and they've definitely got too much free space in the diary right now. And it just occurred to me, I bet they and a lot of other people have a set of contacts right now that they could call and say, hey, how about you come in for some free sessions, and in return you can refer me a few clients, people that are already in these industries where it makes sense to do that, and I think certainly the listeners, should look at their contact list right now and consider where there might be opportunity like that.
Definitely. And, the other thing is, for me, I have thousands of people who've been through my door in the last 18 years. I could, if I get a new trainer in here and they're really looking to grow, I can offer any of these new people, any of these older people, free sessions just to get them in the door to work with this new trainer. They may hit it off. This new trainer has all the time in the world. They can spend 2 or 3 sessions with a former client and try to re-engage them. So there's look at your old clients, your old client base, give them a free session or 2 to just get back in the door, and then also look at your contacts.
Yeah, absolutely. And you offer the free introductory workout, do you, as part of your strategy? Is that correct, Dwayne? Or?
A complimentary session. There's a difference between complimentary and free. A complimentary session has value. Free is 0.
Ah, very good. So it's the wording's pretty important on that one.
It is important because a free session it has no value. Where if you say it's complimentary, it's normally $90. Well, now it has value. If a one session is worth $90 and I'm giving it to you complimentary, now there's value to it. So, you got to think like a consumer.
And how effective do you find those to be? So when someone goes through a session like that, how effective is that in terms of converting them into a customer for you?
Well, it depends on where they came from in the first place. We do a lot of things. I also give to nonprofits and charities 3 sessions to auction off at their auctions or door prizes or however they want to use them. So sometimes they're not really high. I don't really get a high return on those because, they weren't looking for it in the first place. And, it's just something someone bought for them or whatever, so look, those are always 3 sessions. because you want to show you wanted to have some type of value to the charity so they can get some money out of it. So out of those, I'll probably convert maybe 30 to 40% of those into someone who buys at least a set of 10 sessions. But when someone gets a complimentary session off the website, that conversion rate's much higher. It's closer to like 60% because they were looking for this at first, or if I go out to a networking event and I'm getting people's business cards and I'm inviting them in, that's a much lower percent because they weren't looking for this in the first place. But my approach to that is different too. When I'm out networking at an event or something, I'm meeting people who obviously are out networking as well. I want them to come in to get the experience of what I'm doing so they can talk about it the next time I see them. So I'm not necessarily looking to make a sale every time I have someone come in. I'm looking to have someone have a good experience and a better understanding of what I'm doing so that they can talk about it to others.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something occurred to me, which you might have some thoughts on too, which I just wanted to mention is, this whole concept of someone who's starting out, and this might even apply to existing businesses, is people need to realize how much they probably already have in terms of potential prospects within their existing networks. I've done this numerous times with products and services, with a membership where I've actually been able to acquire customers through my network. And I know some people are a little bit uncomfortable selling to friends and family, but if done in the right way, it's not a bad thing. And it's probably it's a great way of validating your business. If they don't want it, if they're not interested in what you're doing, this applies to all businesses in my mind, then maybe you're onto the wrong type of business, or they're not your customer. And just to be more specific, I'm talking about email, like going through your email contacts, Facebook friends, Facebook direct messenger is very powerful. And text messages. What contacts have you got on your phone? I think that's for me, and I'm currently, and this is probably no secret because I've talked about it in other podcasts, in talks with people in my local area to actually start a Galway, which is an Ireland-based gym, high-intensity type facility. And I know when I start, I will certainly be thinking about leveraging those tools when I come to reach out to people to invite them for their complimentary session or their first session. So is that something that you think is underutilized as well? Is that something that you've leveraged yourself?
When I started, I definitely did. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that goes back to what I said earlier is you have time, you have open space in your schedule, fill it with people. Even if they're not paying, it's another person who can talk about you. It's another person who can give you a positive Google review. It's another person who can give you a testimonial for your website. It's another person who's going to give a comment on your social media posts. So, get your exposure through everybody and anybody that you know, and eventually you're going to hit people that are going to want to pay for this. And like you said, if they're not wanting to pay for it, they're probably not the right person for your business. There's plenty of people who come in here that think it's something that it's not, and I'm not going to convert them. They want to swing kettlebells. Okay, go do that. It's not going to be here. If you're looking to build strength and get healthier, that I can do, and you have to be open to allowing me to teach you our methodology. So knowing their demographic works, but also exposing yourself to enough people so that the word gets out there about what you do and how well you do it is also important.
Just curious, is there anything that we've missed in terms of tactics that you use, Dwayne, to acquire new customers that have worked well for you?
Well, I think, I mentioned that I give out those complimentary or those 3 sessions to charities and nonprofits and schools and things like that. That's huge for me because, in this area, there's always stuff. I probably send out at least 2 packs of these. I put together a whole packet of these gift certificates to these charities. I probably send out an average of 2 a week. So that's 6 free sessions every week I send out. Now, about 10% of them actually come back, but that's free advertising. It costs you absolutely nothing. And honestly, if someone's soliciting for an auction or something like that, I'll give it to them because I know most of them don't come back, but a lot of people will see it. And if they see it over and over again and they see you at different events, eventually they might end up buying it, or that's just another touch point. Again, it's about being known and being seen. I have a truck with lettering on the side of it. I have my window in the front of the building has the Vertex Fitness really big on the window. I'm out there whenever I'm throughout the day. I have my shirt on with Vertex Fitness on it. So the idea of being exposed, people have mentioned to me many times, "Oh, I've seen your card, your business card here. I've seen your truck, or I've seen you in this magazine or wherever." It's about getting exposure. People don't necessarily buy the first time they see you, but if they see you in many different places, that shows that you're not just a fly-by-night place.
No, I love that. I should have wore Corporate Warrior t-shirts to the conference, but I was too lazy to actually make that happen.
Yeah.
Where did Vertex come from? How did you come up with the brand name?
Well, it's interesting. I started out as Apex Fitness, but there's Apex. My lawyer didn't do a very good job in checking the trademarks. There's a company, a bigger company out of California that had Apex Fitness, and they did some personal training, education or something like that. And about a year and a half, as soon as my SEO got good enough, I got a cease and desist letter.
Jesus.
So we changed the name. I had a certain amount of time, 3 months to change it. And finally, I had a client I asked, and they said, well, Vertex means the same thing as Apex, and it sounds the same. So the branding that I've already done didn't need to change much. So that's how Apex became Vertex, and I've been Vertex now for 16 years. So.
Yeah, it sounds very like advanced. It sounds to me like it's technological and it's out there, and I like it. So do you do, in terms of, you've talked a little bit about social media, have you found there to be any value in, aside from, I guess branding is one aspect, but in terms of doing free social media versus paid, have you had any returns on that at all?
I haven't, most of what I do, I try to do organically, just because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but organically, those people that you get from that are your better customers. If you're trying to, and again, I could be wrong, but if you're forcing yourself in front of people, I don't know that that's necessarily your customer. If they find you organically, they're going to be easier to sell. Now, if you're starting out, you may need to invest in that. You may need to go, find more people to get in front of. And again, I haven't done much of it, so I can't speak with a lot of knowledge on it, but I haven't found any type of paid advertising to get much return, whether it is an ad somewhere, whether it's in a newspaper, and newspapers are dead, but I do occasionally do stuff in one of our local magazines here because they have quote unquote best of issue, and that issue lays around for quite some time. So I'll do something in that sits in doctors and dentists' office and things like that. So I'll do that. And I just did another thing for another magazine that is one of those more exclusive magazines that goes to a higher income, free. They get sent out free, but it's to a higher income. I'll do stuff like that, and again, it's mostly for branding to get another touch on for people. I haven't found any of that kind of thing to drive traffic directly.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, and I do think social media can be quite, in a lot of cases, quite a distraction because it's not perhaps used in the right way. I think where there may be exceptions to that is like with something like Facebook, where you can be incredibly targeted, can be quite useful in terms of getting your ad in front of people in your area that fit your demographic very, very closely. Which is one good thing about Facebook is they've very much improved how targeted you can be with your ad, and so how much more efficient you can be with your spending would be my opinion. But as I said, it's not something I've tested because I'm obviously not there yet. But I certainly think it's interesting to me because obviously I speak to a number of people, Dwayne, in this industry, and a lot of you have kind of different views on what works best, and obviously things work best for different businesses in different areas that have different goals. So I do want to just say to listeners, don't do test assumptions, and look at your own results. I think that's a really important takeaway. Do you also, I'm just curious, because I know you've clearly had a lot of success driving customers through the website, which is cool to hear. Do you also make a conscious effort to capture emails and build an email list in that process?
I have the email lists because I use Infusionsoft to
Oh, yeah.
So I do have the email list. I have not capitalized on that. I just haven't gone through the process of doing a newsletter or any content marketing via email. That is something that I want to do because Infusionsoft is great for that. I just haven't done that yet.
Okay, cool. I'd say, sounds like you're too busy making too much money to focus on it.
I don't know if that's the case, but I am busy, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think the hardest thing for me has always been finding the right staff. And, I can find clients personally. It's actually, finding our niche of high intensity training. There's very few people, one, in the fitness industry have ever heard of it, and two, that are willing to try to understand it. So finding that right person who is willing to understand it or learn it has always been my biggest issue. So, my goal for this year is to increase my staff again. I've had up to 10 people working for me in the past. So I'm gonna, I don't want to be training the 20 people a day anymore. I want to find some good people who are willing to learn and grow with me.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely something that's come up quite a lot on this show. Is a common concern, finding the right people who are, educated in this stuff. Just going back to the email list, I think, I definitely think that could work really well for you, because you've already got great content that you're creating, and you could just literally share that via email to your email list. Because I think email is a great resource, because it's, even though a lot of people will lament about the death of email, it's still the one thing that we have more control over versus social media, because obviously with social media they're changing algorithms all the time, and that's obviously changing the exposure of stuff, and emails open rates are still pretty good. If you do good work, you will get good open rates, and it's a great way if you were just doing because I do it, and I find I have quite good open rates and click through rates. to my content. And I think if you were to do just basically repurpose or redistribute your content you already create through your emails, and then do a little call to action at the bottom, PS, come for a complimentary session, I think that could work quite well. But yeah, maybe something worth experimenting with in the future for you.
It's definitely on the list.
So, before we kind of wrap up, I was really keen to ask you this question, Dwayne, which I guess we may have covered a bit already. But as you know, a lot of our colleagues really struggle to to get clients through the door and to grow their business. What do you think? I mean, this is not only new starters, but existing businesses that have been in business for a while. What do you think, when you speak to these people, or what do you think a lot of them are doing wrong, and how could they perhaps fix that?
I think the biggest issue is that we have to be chameleons. We have to be able to change our message to fit the person in front of us. Now, when I say change our message, I don't mean change the idea or the meaning of it. Change your approach to delivering it. You can't talk to everybody the same way. You got to hear what they're saying. You got to be able to. One of the things I tell new trainers all the time, this protocol, this type of training is great to help a woman increase her bone density, to help ward off osteoporosis. But if you're talking to a high school student, they don't need to hear that. So you got to change your message to the person that you're talking to, and you got to be able to identify what their needs are and be able to say, well, this is going to help you get the results you're looking for. And if you can't do that, you need to educate yourself better on communication and listening, because you can't tell people what they don't want to hear and expect them to buy what you're selling.
Yeah. And that is sales 101, isn't it? Asking great questions, understanding people's problems and pain points, and then when you understand that, addressing that directly rather than talking about benefits that they couldn't care less about.
Well, yeah. Benefits are, the average person, do they care if you have MedX or Nautilus or pendulum equipment? They don't know the difference between that and the stuff that's at Planet Fitness. They have no idea what one piece of equipment is compared to another. They don't care. All they care about is that you're going to be able to answer. You're going to be able to give them the results they're looking for. So you have to identify that, and you have to be able to talk their language so that they will be able to see the value in you. You are selling value. You're not even selling results at that point. You're selling value. The results are something that happen over time. And once you start seeing results, then it's your job to keep showing them that they're getting these results. The conversation during the workout has to always be somewhere along the way. Can you feel how this is getting you to where you want to go? And if it's no, then you have to show them somehow, some way that it is. So you have to speak their language. You have to make sure you're answering their questions and getting them what they want from the time they're spending with you.
Yeah, so true. I know where I've made, when I've done, for instance, online coaching in the past, I've just absolutely hit someone with this avalanche of benefits and like this list of stuff, and I've just pitched it at them, and then they're kind of sitting there and you're thinking it's all resonating, and then it's going to basically build their motivation up so high that they won't be able to say no, and then they'll be so motivated to actually take action on the training. But it just doesn't work like that. Like, a lot of people just most people don't operate like that. A few things will resonate with them, which are linked to their, what they want to achieve in terms of results, or what pain they're trying to get away from. And that's it. Right. And it's understanding that. And I've, as someone who's, I've had a fair amount of success in my sales career in London in IT, and I still make these mistakes now. So I don't want anyone thinking that, it's something that you still slip up occasionally. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just about being conscious and trying to improve your ability to communicate, because this is going to serve your prospect or customer better and yourself. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, the old saying, you have two ears and one mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk, because they're going to tell you everything you need to know to sell them. It's whether you hear it and then are able to identify how to communicate what you're doing is going to help them get the results that they just told you they want. Yeah,
absolutely. The amount of times I've talked myself out of sales as well is embarrassing.
And then when someone's ready to buy, shut up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
How many times I've heard new trainers on the phone with people, and they're ready to schedule something, and they just keep talking and talking and talking, and then then the customer never schedules, and it's because of what you just said. They just talked themselves out of a sale because, they just went on too long.
Yeah, it's good advice. Do you want to talk? Is there any? I wanted to jump onto the your other interest, the Fitness Alliance, for a second. But is there any other parting thoughts you've got in terms of generating, I guess, getting new clients through the door? Is there anything else you want to add on that topic at all?
I don't think so at this point. Like I said, it's it's getting exposure and showing value, and there's many different ways of doing both of those, and you just got to figure out what works best in your area. People aren't going to come through your door if they don't know about you, and if they do know about you, they're not going to come through your door if they don't think that you have what they're looking for. So, it's you got to keep putting it out there and keep showing value to the people that are in front of you, and keep getting in front of new faces, whether it's online or personally or both. I do everything I possibly can to get in front of more people, both online and in person.
I guess, I see what you're saying, and certainly at the start, it's there's definitely, sounds like there's value in just trying a lot of things, try a lot of different things, and then you'll see what works, and then keep doing things that work.
And don't give up on things too quickly, though, because it didn't work one or two times, because it may have just fallen on deaf ears or not the right people. So, put some effort into anything you put your mind to.
Cool. Do you want to talk about the Fitness Alliance for a sec?
Well, that started out of out of the whole idea of finding of it being hard to find staffing. So what I'm trying to do with that, and it's sort of on hold right now a little bit because of I'm focusing more on Vertex, but basically the idea is to gather, very similar to what you're doing, like-minded professionals to build a network of people who can help each other via different avenues. And I've had a couple conferences which we've had, really, really high level people of the fitness industry come in and talk about how to help businesses be successful and customer service and sales. And, that's the bigger picture, is it's an alliance of like-minded people, pretty much small businesses, whether it be personal trainers or small health clubs to personal training studios, working together to help each other grow. That's the bigger idea of it.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds obviously similar to my own, but I think the way I see it is, there's plenty of space for multiple entities like this to exist, and it certainly seems like the industry needs this type of these types of services in order to help our colleagues get off the ground and grow their businesses effectively. Dwayne, we can't end this without you talking about your current workout. So tell us about your current training.
Oh, let's see. Well, I go through spurts of training a lot to training very little. Just, like any other business owner, especially, it's the whole idea the shoemaker's kids had the worst shoes, when it's always available to you, it's harder to get involved in it. But lately I've been more involved in it this year because just I put my mind to it. So what I do is and it's not much different than how I train my clients. I have a core set of push-pull exercises. I do a row, chest press, a pull down and overhead press. And then, I'll mix in some pre-exhaust to that sometimes, or even pre-post exhaust. I'll do a chin up to a pull over to a pull down. Just because for whatever that day, I just felt like hammering my back. I just got in. I don't know if I talked to you about this at the Resistance Exercise Conference, but I just got the MedX medical line. I've got all 5 of their pieces, and I've been playing with the rotary neck lately, and I've used the Nautilus, the old Nautilus rotary neck that you apply your own resistance to, but this one has a very, very different feel because it's you're working against a weight stack. So every workout ends with right now with the rotary neck, the neck flexion and extension, and some shrugs because and there more and more research that we get about neck training. It's really important to help stimulate, blood flow to your brain and help with the rest of your workout. So I've been working my neck quite a bit. And then for the legs, I really like I have a Nautilus 2ST hip extension. I like doing that as a pre-exhaust to a leg press to work the hips. So I'll mix in a pre-exhaust, maybe hamstrings to that, to leg press, or pre-exhaust leg extension, leg press, and then a post-exhaust with the hips with the hip extension. And again, these are types of things that I do with my clients. I have a base set of workouts that I work out with my clients, and I work them through this sequence or progression of exercises. So, like I said, I do what I have my clients do. I just do a little bit more like neck work than most of my clients want to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's great. It's obviously important to practice what you preach in front of your clients. I was talking to Richard Wolf recently from Med Fitness, and he's very big on that principle. So, did you how did you find the training at the conference?
Oh, it was great. I've been to every one of those conferences, and some years I just don't feel like doing that at 6 o'clock in the morning. But this year I prepared myself. I actually worked out quite a bit before I got there. So I was, prior months. So I wasn't going in cold like I have other years. It's always interesting to have people who have a very similar idea of how to do things, have them train you, because even though you have the same general philosophy, the way you apply it is always going to be different. Personally, with my clients, I don't do very many of the advanced techniques, that we did when we were there, like the, negative accentuated to the negative onlys to that kind of thing. Because first of all, most of my clients, they don't want that type of intensity, nor do they need it. If I tried to do that with most of my clients, I wouldn't have clients, So, but for the group of people who are there, those of us who understand this, I mean, it's always good to do something different, So I enjoyed it. It was fun, and it's always good to in that setting, you get how many different trainers, and each trainer had their own slight different approach, and a good experience. I liked it.
Yeah, it was, and I was very impressed with the supervision. Actually, I know, Discover Strength have their own style, and I appreciate that. Not every business owner and trainer likes the way they do things, but I enjoyed it, and I found the way they instruct the exercises, the way they count down the sets, and track the cadence. That I thought that was really productive, because I haven't trained supervised for many years. So it was really refreshing for me to get some supervision. And it just pushes you harder,
Oh, definitely.
Although I think it was after 8 or 9 exercises, I was just so exhausted. They wanted me to do like 2 or 3 more. And I was like, no, guys, that's it. Like, I'm going to literally be sick, and I do not want to projectile vomit over your lovely gym and over your beautiful machines. So I was glad to get out of there. But, I mean, so the DOMS, the soreness afterwards was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I mean, we've all had soreness, right? But this was so bad. Like, I had to, because a couple of days later, I flew back to Ireland, and that's a 13-hour flight, I think. Was it that long? Maybe a bit less than that, maybe 9 or 10 hours. I mean, getting up from that plane, was not a fun experience.
No, and what happens in those situations is it's twofold. One, threefold. One, you're doing something slightly different than you've ever done it before, because one, the machines are different.
That's
Two,
right, yeah.
The protocol they're using is slightly different. Two, you're in front of your peers. You're not going to give up. You're going to kick. You don't want to show up. You want to make sure you're showing your best. And, and three, we're not, we've done this stuff before. So we have a whole nother level of understanding of what effort is. Most of my clients, I showed because I had a couple of the trainers take some video of me doing this. Most of my clients couldn't believe the intensity in which I work, because that's so far removed from their comfort level. That's like believing, back when the people thought the earth was flat. That's believing it's round. It's so much further than they can see that they couldn't fathom working that hard. So, but physiologically speaking, they're capable of doing it. They just don't, it's just so far outside their comfort zone and so far removed from what they know. Getting there would be scary. So, we know what it takes. We know the intensity in which the body can work. We just may not do it all the time. And then put us into a setting with our peers and having instruction from people who know what they're doing. You just set the table for being so sore that I was sore for multiple days afterwards too.
Yeah, you're right. It is for those that aren't familiar. The specificity is so key. If I had access to all those machines and I knew the protocols, I could have obviously practiced that over time and then been far more effective at the routine, and also had probably less soreness as a result of that repeated bout effect. But I'm living in a place where we do not have, no one's even heard of Medex or Nautilus over here. It's crazy. And so, with that, it's, my routine looks very, very different to what we went through. This does lead me actually to ask you a kind of final question, Dwayne, before we wrap up. You talked about, obviously there's perhaps a big delta between the type of intensity that we can be exposed to versus maybe some of your clients and maybe a lot of the clients in this industry. And it's key to obviously understand that and meet people where they are. Have you found that over time you have had some success in terms of really picking up the intensity and making your clients' workouts even more effective?
I think it's a gradual process. I think you have to sort of almost get them there without them knowing you're doing it. In the way I do it is that I'll slowly teach them better and better form, which maybe as you as you progress through this and the form gets better, less resistance is needed to get the same results. So if you're getting better form and slowly increasing the resistance, the intensity is increasing exponentially. So it's sort of like through the education process, through the exposure to this, just over time, they end up working harder. Now, that being said, some of them catch on and they just stop you. They just tell you they're not working any harder than what they are. Really? I never give up on it. Like I said, I have people I've been training for 20 years, and I'm still trying to get them to listen to me and get them to do extra reps on this, that, or the other thing, or maybe not extra reps, just in a better cadence or with better form. And, there's many ways of increasing intensity without always increasing the weight. So, better form and more controlled movements increases the intensity as well. So, getting people that's the bigger point, is getting the form better is going to keep them safer, get them better results, and make it more efficient.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it.
No, that's good. That's good advice. Dwayne, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me on the show today, and learned a lot actually listening to you talk about how you've grown your business over the years, and how you communicate has actually been one of the big takeaways for me, and how you communicate with your clients. What's the best way for people to find out more about you and your services? VertexFit.com is my website. And then I'm all over social media. If you just look for Dwayne Wimmer, you're gonna find me. I'm on pretty much every social media outlet, mainly Facebook and LinkedIn. I post there multiple times every day, and most of that is my blog content, and then I'll sprinkle in some other articles that I find and share other people's posts as well. But LinkedIn, Facebook, and Vertex Fitness has its own Facebook page. You can like that, and you'll get the information that I put out there. But Snapchat
Vertex,
as well?
I am on there. I don't use it. Like I said, I think I have an account on almost every social media outlet. I don't use each one of them as well as I should. Like Instagram, I've posted some stuff there, but I don't use it as much as I could. There's only so many hours in a day, and most of my demographic is the older clientele, so they use, as far as social media goes, from what I understand, they're mostly on Facebook. So that's where I spend most of my time putting information out there. And then from the business aspect of things, the LinkedIn, I try to build up my contact list there just to show, get exposure and show my relevance in the industry. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so harsh on yourself in terms of trying to be active on all the platforms, because I think you're probably doing the right thing in terms of focusing on fewer platforms where your audience actually hangs out. So, I think you're doing a great job. Okay, so and for all the listeners, to find the show notes for this episode, please go to corporatewarrior.co/Dwayne. That's DWAYNE. And for all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.co/podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Before you head off, head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook to get your free high-intensity training Google Sheet to track your training progress. And get my ebook with 20 interview transcripts with some of my top guests, including Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Bill Simone, on how to optimize muscle gain, fat loss, and overall health in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. Head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook now and enter your email address for instant access. This podcast is brought to you by Vital Exercise, a one-of-a-kind personal training facility in the UK, owned and run by that geezer and world-class personal trainer Ted Harrison. For over 30 years, Ted has been very successful in helping people achieve great results, and if you've seen the blog post for his episodes on this podcast, you will see that he walks the walk. And at 57, he's muscular and lean and can be seen on Facebook doing his best Daniel Craig impression, emerging from the sea in the tiniest trunks you've ever seen. Ted and I talk all the time. Since our very first meeting, when Ted put me through an amazing workout, he's become a great friend and one of my trusted health and fitness counsel. Operating from a high-intensity training base, Ted uses an eclectic mix of training styles to optimize results for his clients. He's a hot property and people travel from all over the UK to train with him. To book a free consultation, either at his facility in Essex in the UK, or to find out more about his virtual coaching, which includes personalized training, nutritional guidance and support, please go to corporatewarrior.co/Ted, where you can fill in a contact form or phone Ted directly. That's corporatewarrior.co/Ted.